So,
Okay.
and let's finish this again, Flutter Club. Let's start. It's our week number 4. And amazing speaker, Anthony Atuoha. You are welcome. Let's start.
Okay. Thank you, Anna. So this week, Anna has mentioned that we've been learning a lot of Flutter concepts, building applications, and learning the nitty-gritties of building using Flutter for mobile and other things. So this week, we are going to be integrating AI into Flutter, or more or less like um, um, building an AI diagnostic app. So we're going to use Gemini to bring in what will I call it? To bring in an avenue for you to take care of a patient or for a patient to send in information in the medical space. So the only constraint we have to this is based on the model we are using and the API key we are getting. So the last time we had a section like this, there we are more or less restriction. But now because of I guess misuse, there are now few restrictions. So what we are going to do is that we are going to look at Flutter offers, what Gemini offers, how we can bring the things together, and how we can move on from there. So let me start by moving to the next slide. So literally, there's this thing that's mentioned that integrating AI into mobile application isn't just about automation. Is about anticipating the user's intent and delivering context-aware experiences in real time. So we all know about this particular emphasis that is being laid on context window, on having ChatGPT or having Gemini or having whatsoever AI tool you are using out there, being aware of what you're saying, being aware of the context of what you're saying, in the sense that it's if you give an AI instruction based on something relating to, let's say, is analyzing a PDF file for you, you send it to Gemini, and it's been going on and on and on and on. That creates a context window of it being what conversation. The things you guys have said on the conversation, see how I'm mentioning the person, don't mind me. The discussions, the corrections and stuff, being aware of all of those things. That's a very good thing. And that thing is the context awareness, it being, there is this particular concept or an advantage AI brings. So when you are building an AI that is for more or less, let's say, an app that helps you diagnose maybe your car, maybe it's like a mechanic. Let's say that's a word. And you want it to be context aware of what it is. Like you want it to always remember this is what it is. Like this is what it does. It needs to be context aware of what it does, the 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 functionality is meant to perform, or the function is meant to perform, or more or less like the category it falls into. That's another thing. So you don't want you to maybe to be queried on something relating outside that mechanic whatsoever, or that car or automobile repair stuff that you're bringing on forward, and then it's still doing it. So what we are going to be building is something that is um confined into the healthcare space, where it gives only information or instruction based on that context, based on that environment or that field. If that's okay. Then what we have here is tools of the trade, but some things have changed. We are going to look at one also. So we have tools of the trade. When you're building something in the health space, we make use of Medellem, Vertex AI, which is Medellem is like Vertex AI, literally. So we're going to be, if you want to build or make use of something that is on the healthcare space, it's good for you to use Palm or Medellem. These models are even Gemini. These models are so strong or well trained with data relating to image analysis, domain specific reasoning regarding to the medical side. So it is more or less, it is more aware of that particular field or that particular environment, and it gives you that ability for you to also work with some compliances, like I mentioned here, compliances like hyper compliances and stuff relating to. There's some kind of things you if you build a generalized AI, or you go to any particular AI tool you're making use of, and then you ask this AI to give you instruction, give you something relating to that, and it's not regularized, it, it doesn't have anything that is um, giving it a constraint to the kind of information it can. And then the headache they have doesn't lead them to possibly go to a doctor if the AI is not being context aware, or like no information relating to that. So if somebody trains an AI like that, and then the next thing is for you to go and get drugs for you to cure the headache, it could be stress induced headache. It could be something that you can just drink a cup of water and then relax, and then maybe take a break or something like that. The headache goes off. It can be relating to your. You have to request for it, and you have to go and stuff, because it's not just like Gemini that we can plug and play, or open AI API we can just plug in and play. It is confined into the medical sphere, and it's super strong. So if you follow Google, on the health side of things, there's literally AI can do a whole lot of things, from giving you an analysis of a medical person that is just experiment worked for, like my skin. So I didn't know, actually snide what it is of and ask what it is, or something before. It can be bruised, and then you want to find a suitable way to treat it. It kit at home to make it literally do lots more than not confined to how you can think. And as I mentioned, building something that is also regularized on any particular industry you want to build it for. So that's about today. We're going to just be building a diagnosis app. So using AI and Flutter. So another thing there you need to pay attention to is while you are building, it doesn't stop optimizing. It doesn't stop you from optimizing what you're building, like the app you're building. You need to make sure that what you're building is optimized. It needs to follow the whole optimization what they call it, optimization words, guidelines, everybody knows about in Flutter. So it doesn't stop you from optimizing. And build an app that looks very good, works perfectly in debug, and when it goes to production, people start complaining. So that is also related to, or is related to AI when you're building stuff for AI as well. So you need to minimize widget build, use constructible, optimize state management tools, make sure that any image you are making use of is also catching a stock image. Another thing is this: depending on what the AI is generating, you need to, if possible, have fallbacks, have image loaders, loaders, or something relating to handling, not just something relating to. You need to learn or make your Flutter app to handle errors perfectly, based on like something we're going to experience while on this call. So something that has to do with error handling. You need to make sure that even though it's not performance optimization, it's something relating to UX. You need to also learn how to make sure that one of the problems that most apps experience in the Play Store or App Store by users that drop review most times are not problems code or based on how bad the codes are being written. Is most times based on how bad errors are being handled. Someone can be having a network issue and they're sending an API request, or they're sending they're sending money, they're sending a request and it's not going, it's still spinning. Possibly there might be a network issue where they are, maybe there is no timeout or stuff relating to that, or maybe who knows, you are being timed out. maybe reach your limit. Let's say you are building something open source and then you've reached your limit. A user doesn't get to see this error message. It comes into your console or anywhere you get to see that error message. They don't get to see it. So you need to make sure that whatsoever the user is experiencing is something that is not make them drop a bad review on Play Store, on App Store. So last week, okay, this week Monday precisely, there was a company that reached out and shared what they've been the user reviews on their app on Play Store. And I'll be honest with you, almost 60% of those reviews that when I reviewed them were actually caused by poor error handling or poor UI UX. More or less the way the user is experiencing the app, not from the code, not that the codes were bad. No. The users were trying to enter password. The password they were trying to enter had constraints. It had password validation. This user doesn't know the one that is the letter that is needed, the length or whatsoever. All they just get to see is that they try to sign in, it doesn't go through. They will say sign up button does not work. Whereas that particular input that you're entering does not pass the validation, but they don't get to see it if you don't show it to them. So they can go to Play Store or App Store and drop a bad review that your sign up button, your sign up is not working. I've been trying to sign up, it doesn't work. That's it. It flies from there to another user. That's it. It keeps on growing, and and the bad review keeps on growing. And you as somebody that's managing the app can't even go there to delete it if you've worked on it. That's it. And then when the user does this, they end up even possibly not even using the app again, and they'll forget about it. That's it. That's a bad review on you, and it can be 1 star. And that's how bad it gets. I mentioned something about co-splitting. When you are using when you are building apps and you realize when you're building a screen and you realize that these components can be splitted. So there's this there's this concept we used to have. If it is past 500 lines of code or 200 lines of code, you should split it into and you can split it literally. You can actually, when you have a concept you've written, or let's say a widget you've written that is doing something, it can check if it can be splitted. The more it can be splitted, the more better your app performs. The more lines of code, the less line of code in a file, the more the better. Then you can use isolate for heavy computing. You can optimize your animations and use animations only when necessary. You can reduce overdraw and rendering and always make sure that you profile and benchmark with DevTools. So this, when you are building, all of this doesn't stop. You need to make sure that while the user is seeing all of this, they need to be aware of whatsoever outside you doing all of this coding stuff and making sure that the app performs very well. You need to also look at the UX, not just the UI. Okay, so let's look at this be less code. So and it's right, less demo. That's still a one. So what I will do is I will stop sharing this side and share Android Studio. Just a sec. I'll share Android Studio. So what we're going to do is not more or less like code along, because if we do code along, all of us know that we're going to spend the whole day here. So I'm going to be sharing. So I've written the code that is here. It's been written in Free Code Camp already. So there are articles in Free Code Camp that explains this. I'm going to show you in the nitty gritty, in the smallest part of it. But the only constraint is that the only issue, would I call it an issue, is that it was using an old version of the package which you're going to currently use today. But the good news is, while I was trying to run the app, I noticed that the package was outdated. So I had to follow it. I had to update it. So we're going to have we're going to be working with the updated version just now. So give me a minute. Let me put this up here so we can look at it. So there have been a lot of changes that have been coming to how we integrate AI. Google is trying to make almost everyone, which is amazing. It's actually very good because before now, when we are not having logic in Firebase, we are more or less dealing with API keys and everything was messy. You have to protect it from misuse and stuff. But these days, the last time I worked with Gen UI, I figured out that with AI logic, which I'm here now, just a minute, let me even share the screen. Let me stop sharing this screen because it starts. Since it's not just Flutter dealing with, we are dealing with AI as well. So we need to learn every single thing. it helps us because that's where the migration is coming in. The current migration that is coming in, that is where it's taking effect. So everything is you now have to use Firebase AI logic to handle everything. Literally, you enable your your Gemini developer API and your Vertex AI when you want to start offering scalability and start offering stuff outside the sandbox and stuff. So we're going to be making of Firebase AI logic. So before now, we had this section. We went to AI Studio, generated an API key, and then used this Gemini provider, and that was it. So that was straightforward. But there have been changes. So the changes now have us using Firebase AI logic directly. So we'll create it here. The API key will be created for us here. What we just have to do is very simple. We just have to integrate Firebase into our Flutter project, and that's it. Voila, everything is being handled. We can now use it. You can use Firebase AI, the package, in Flutter, and that handles it. Literally, it references, it sees the API key, is connected in a way, if there is a word to say that. So I'm going to be showing you the last package we used. Okay, I'm sharing this tab. So before now, we are making use of generated AI, which is currently deprecated, is no longer being used, is deprecated. So, but and as well, we're making use of Google AI Toolkit. So Google AI Toolkit gives you that AI chat related widget that makes it easy for you to add the AI chat window to your Flutter app. And this is generalized, is for every kind of industry. So if you check, I'm going to share this with you. Just a minute, let me share this tab quick. Before we dive into the code, I want you to see what we're building first before we dive into the code and then look at the code. So I'm sharing this tab. This is from Free Code Camp. So this is it in action. This is the chat window, literally, that gives you the chat window. But this chat window is generalized. It's from default, it's generalized without system instruction. It's generalized. It's not confined to a category or a field, or is not built to be just like Gemini. When you go to Gemini is not defined to be your CV reviewer. So you tell it to act like a CV reviewer. It's not meant to be like a code debugger, or it's not meant to be like a financial analyst. So you tell it, maybe give it a prompt like, be a financial expert or act as a pro financial expert. Look at my expenses for the whole week. This, that. I want to save this kind of money. Can you financially advise me? Stuff like that. You've given it a system instruction or an awareness that it should play the role of a financial advisor, a financial assistant, or whatsoever. So in this side, the Firebase, the AI toolkit is generalized. Well, with system instruction, we are filing it into the medical space. And as I mentioned, the whole code is actually being explained here from the to the end. So let me move over back to this so that I'll tell us what has changed. How I wish I can update this article, but maybe I will reach out to them to know if I can update it. So on here, some things have changed. One of the things that have changed is that currently now we can't be using, we are not going to make use of this package again. Neither are we going to make this package again. We're only going to make use of the new package, which is called Firebase. And the next thing is that there is a new single Firebase provider that works for both Gemini and Vertex AI, and Vertex AI, or Vertex as you can call it. And another thing is that we are not going to be making use of, since the change, since 1.0 and the previous versions, we're not going to be making use of Gemini provider. So if you go back to that article, you figure out that I was making use of Gemini provider because of the time I wrote the article. Now, if you're making use of Gemini, instead of you to do this, you're not going to be doing this. And you figure out, you look at something, if you can look at this, which is the reason I mentioned that this is actually, it saves us headache. Before now, you have to pass the API key here. So you're not passing the API key here again. So when you create a Firebase project and go to Firebase AI Logic and get started and stuff and create a Gemini developer API or Vertex AI or stuff, it creates the API key for you. It's been managed there, so you don't get to do anything there. In as much as you have your Firebase integrated in that part for that Firebase project, automatically the API key there, it says it. So you just have to do this, and that's it. You just have to do this and the model, and that's it. It gets going for you. So if I'm reading this article I get to know that at the point where I'm doing this, I don't need to do this again. I just have to do this. So we are already done that. I've already done that in the new one we are going to see, in the new project we're going to see. It's just for you to know of it. Same thing goes with if you're using Vertex provider. Before it used to be like this, but now it now changes to this. So another thing you get to see is making use of just a Firebase provider for the both of them, literally. So you're not just using Vertex provider or Gemini provider, you're just using Firebase provider for the both of them. And another thing there is that also all projects now must initialize as Firebase project using the Google AI, which is literally this. Just it's the same way you add your Firebase project. The only thing you have to do is to integrate Firebase in your project, um, sync it in with the project you have on Firebase, and that's it. Voila, you're good. So let's look at the code base. So the only new package you are going to be adding will be removing Google if I'm pronouncing it this very Google Generative AI. We'll be removing it because it's deprecated. We'll be adding two more packages. We'll be adding this AI and Firebase Core. So more or less, or you're going to see because this long or because of the time frame. So we can get to ask questions and stuff. So give me a sec. Let me share my screen. Let me share that desktop. Just a second. Okay. Go AI demo. Okay. Perfect. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Not visible for now. No, you don't sharing your screen.
Okay, just
Mhm.
just a minute. Okay. Okay, for some reason, it's telling me to restart my Chrome browser, which is okay. Do you know what? I'm going to be taking this to grant access to share your screen. Just a minute. I'm
Maybe
going to be
something.
opening this in. Yeah, I'm going
Okay.
to be opening this in DatsPad. Let's use DatsPad. Just a sec. So I'm going to be opening this in DatsPad and then
Okay.
what is changing. So for reason I can't share my window. Don't mind me. I'm on my PC, so it's super heavy at the time. I work just closed by 5. Work just closed. Just a sec. Okay, let me see what I have here. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll be copying the code from here, and I'll be pasting it there, and then I'll be telling you what I've changed. Just a second, guys.
Okay.
Then I'll be
Today
pushing this code to GitHub.
you're not first
What is it?
speaker who get today you are not the first speaker who get issues with sharing screen. Yes, previous
Amazing.
speaker
Amazing.
he has lost sharing screen automatically without
Yeah.
understandable reason. He even restart laptop. I think something.
Amazing.
I don't know why. I don't know what's happened today with Baby Virtual.
Okay, so we can't actually make use of these packages here. So, but I want us to see something. So literally, if you check this, I'll push the version I have to GitHub. So this is it on GitHub here. Just a minute. Medical AI assistant. I'm going to be sharing so that you can just move ahead to clone it on your machine. When you clone it on your machine, there are just a few changes you need to make. Just a sec. Let me drop this on the chat box. Okay, this is the repo.
Okay, great.
So you can just clone it on your machine. You see exactly what I'm saying. I'm going to make a push now. So the push will have exactly what I have on my system. But before that, give me a sec. Let me also share the article that explains every single thing. Okay. Yep. This article explains every single thing. So the only thing I want to do now is is more or less like point us to what we're doing, point us changes that is ongoing, so we get to see it. So let me go ahead to share the screen. So now, instead of previously we were making use of Google Generative AI, but now we are syncing everything in with Firebase. So we introduce a new package that is called Firebase AI, and we're just making use of Firebase AI, and we're making use of um, Flutter AI Toolkit. We are making use of Markdown so that we can be able to more or less present the test or the content that is coming in the same way the AI is presenting it, with all of the styles. If it is a list that has bullets and stuff, it will be exactly like that. Just like when you're using Gemini and Gemini is creating something for you, maybe you ask it, what is the default stuff we do with Gemini? Debugging of code. Literally, you have an error and then you tell it to do this or do that. It will start writing syntax of code. It will bring in that code editor interface or stuff like that. Or possibly you tell it to list things. Maybe you want to travel to Switzerland or you want to travel to Canada and you want to see places. It will start listing those places in itemized form with bullet points or with check marks or stuff like that. You want it to be exactly how it is when it is coming in. So that's the reason we're using Flutter Markdown. Then this is just a normal icon SAS. This is normal icon SAS, an icon library. This is a controller. I'm going to show you this controller. This is literally something that we need to is user defined, is a custom widget. So what it does is this: when you push or you build an app, the app you build is having AI generation. Maybe that's the right word. Making you're building if you have a feature that gives a user ability for them to get AI generated text, AI generated image, AI generated whatsoever. Play Store will tell you to build something that has to do with what's the right word for the users to report it, so the user can be able to report it. So if you push your app, that particular app, to Play Store, and then for generated content, the user should be able to report it. That's literally it. So I'll give you an interface before we jump right in. So I have an interface right here of how it's meant to look like.
But
Let me share it so you
you're
get to see.
you're not you are not sharing screen yet.
Okay, are you not yet seeing my screen? Goodness me. My
No,
God, people are screen.
no,
Oh my. And I've
no.
been,
I was I
goodness
was thinking
me.
that is a production until you finish something and
Oh
start
my.
share.
Oh
Okay,
my.
now everything
Apologies. Oh my.
okay.
Apologies. Goodness me. Apologies. So literally, I was actually explaining everything here, line by line, thinking all of us are saying it. Goodness me, this must be a very heck of a weekend. Okay, as I mentioned, we're making use of, so before now, if you check the code base I sent, we were making use of Google Generative AI, which is currently duplicated. So we are not making use of it again. So what we are making use of now is we introduce a new package, which is called Firebase AI. And this is just a normal material.dat. I know throughout the 2 weeks, the 3 weeks, we've been having sections. We've been importing Flutter slash material.dat in every widget, in every screen we are building. This is the ASM importation. This one is just an importation of a package which we are making use of, which was the first package we looked at, the second package we looked at that have changes, which is the Flutter AI toolkit. We're also importing it. And then I mentioned that we are importing Flutter Markdown. And what Flutter Markdown does is, as I mentioned, I know you must have heard me mention it, but you didn't say it, is giving us exactly so that's a real usage. That's why I'm using it. So whenever I'm working with AI generated content and I want it to look exactly how the AI content is, like if it's a list, I want it to be like that. If it has bold, if it is italics, if it has any formatting, any text formatting of any kind, it will be exactly like that. That's the reason I'm using Flutter Markdown. Else, if I have something relating to maybe I wanted to generate an advice or a list of things, and then I don't use this Markdown. I just print it as a test inside the test widget. It will just be like a test in the test widget. But if I'm passing it inside the Flutter Markdown, it gives it the same style or the same text formatting the way it's meant to be, and that's it. That solves the problem. And I reference it to Gemini and the ones we know about and stuff. So that's it. I wanted to show us a little demo of this. So I have this running on Chrome so that we can look at it. So I'll be sharing that window. I'll be sharing that window before we look at this code, please. So we get to see what I mentioned by reporting. So I want us to see that report. It's very important. Okay, I think I can share my window now for it.
No, not sharing
Let's see.
anything.
Just a minute. Let me see if I can see it. Okay. Okay, I can see it. Let me check if I can push this here exactly and move this inside here if it can go. Just a sec. Let's see if it's work. Okay. Just a sec. Okay. I'm not seeing it for some. So I don't really know why sharing a screen is becoming an issue. This is not the first time. I've seen it 1,000 times as an error on that part. That's very bad. Let me see if there's a way I can make us see this.
Something happened today because you took part many times in our community, and every time we use this very virtual, and whenever you never had these problems. But today I had another event before this session, and previous speaker had also problems with presentation.
Yeah,
So
it's
something happened today. Maybe I should inform Baby Virtual support that something happened.
yeah, definitely. So I've been noticing this. This is not the first time, but previously last year this
Maybe
wasn't an
you
issue.
can
Okay,
screenshot of your error. Yeah, I can share
yeah,
with
yeah,
support team.
definitely,
It
that works perfectly. Okay, so what I
okay.
would do is I'll just show us this interface. So for a reason, it's just allowing me share only Chrome tabs. That's so what the report controller. I was talking about the report controller. What the report controller does is this. Let me zoom this so we get to see it. So anytime I send any request to this AI, and then the AI gives me an information that's more or less like every AI generated content. So I mentioned that I have a headache, and it mentioned something relating to it, or more or less like following up. The controller gives me from what we've ordered or from what to structure there. It gives me an avenue. I didn't even add it here for some weird reasons. I didn't even know, but it's in the code that is on GitHub. So it has a button here that when I click on it, I can be able to report this particular content. So this is Google Play Store group. It's more or less like when they have their policies and stuff, their guidelines for publishing your app. So if it doesn't have that, your app will not go. So they will not allow it to go to users and stuff. Users should, because it's AI generated. So what you do with that report is now your concern. So it's not like they're going to monitor it, but like when Google Play Store is reviewing your app, they get to see your code. They get to review. They get to run your app literally. They get to run your app, look at all of that, see stuff, send you screenshots when they are reviewing the app. So that particular AI generated content, you need to have a report button. What you now do with it is now left for you and stuff. So that's something we need to have in mind, and that's something I wanted us to know about. So I'll go back to the dashboard so we can look at the code base. Okay, so what we have here is very, very simple. We just, because we're making use of Vertex Flutter AI Toolkit. Flutter AI Toolkit gives us this LLM chat, gives us this full LLM chat view. So we've been working with Flutter and doing a whole lot of stuff with Flutter of late for the past 3 weeks. And then we've heard about stateless widget and stateful widget. This is a stateful widget. And this is just an init state. Previously, we are using this to get the API key and stuff, but we are not using it again. What we have here is just a normal widget, which has fold and an app bar. Very simple. Then inside the body, we have the LLM chat view, which is enabled using this Vertex AI. So what it gives us that chat view that we have. I think I can be able to get the one you list in the team. Give me a second, let me get it so we see it. There is one, the good thing one. I'll show us. I've seen it before. I've played around with it. Flutter AI toolkit. And there's a live version. There's a live version that I've seen before. Just a minute. I'll get it and show us. So we get to see the live version. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen it. Exactly. Yeah, this is it. So exactly. Yep. Let me open it so we get to see it. This is the demo. Mm, okay, this is the source code for the demo. Just a sec. Just a sec. No, this is not it. Okay, let me share this screen so all of us will be seeing it. Yep, this is how the demo looks like. So I want to show us. It has a web URL too, and I've used it before. So let me show us. Mm, exactly, this is what I mentioned there. So they've also updated theirs as well. I've forgotten where it is, where the URL. Please, if you are seeing this, help me check if you can see the URL. The URL is somewhere. I'm not sure it's this. This is the source code for it. Does the source have the link? No, this is the source. Just a sec, guys. Mm, no, not this. Not this. This is my best to do. No, not this. No, not this. Just a sec. I've seen it before. No,
I
goodness
think
me.
should be
I'm not
here.
sure.
It's no,
I'm
some.
not. I'm not sure it is here again. For a second, it used to be somewhere here. Maybe it's because of maybe I don't know. Maybe misuse. It used to. We used to have the. We used to have the one on the web. Like you can get to play around it, see how it works.
Mhm.
Use that. I can't find it. Maybe it's because of misuse. Maybe people have been sending a whole lot of requests. That could be one of the reasons. Something. Okay. Nevertheless, just the beautiful part of this is that you get to be aware of what is happening. You get to see what is happening, the stuff, run it by yourself, see all of that because of the sharing stuff. And I wouldn't want to shut down my system or close the window and start up again. That would disrupt the section. So what we have here, this gives us that chat window on that project that we saw, on that article we saw. It gives us that chat window. So literally everything is wired up for us, both the chatting mechanism, the file upload, the recording, the whole stuff is wired up. Even the sender and receiver message stuff, you don't need to change it. You don't need to build it yourself, but you can update it. You can actually customize it to look or feel like the theme of your app. This gives us this. And this is where you get to format it. On the style, you can change the styles of it. This is still coming from the AI toolkit. This is still coming from the AI toolkit. So this is the chart view style. You can style the progress bar, the background color, the LLM style. For the LLM style, that is the style of the LLM input. The LLM, what the LLM gives you, more or less like when you send a message to somebody, the person responds. The person responds. That response, the AI is the one responding, right? So the LLM message, this is where you style it. You can do a lot of stuff to it here. Then your own chart, that is the charts, your chat inputs. You can also style it, change the headers, change the border color and stuff. The submit button, you can also do a lot of things with it. You can customize it the way you want. You are coding that interface. That whole interface is being brought to life using that particular package by the Flutter team, by the Google team, I guess. So literally, another one we have is this, which is the change I mentioned that is coming in here. So in the provider, this provider is now making use of Firebase provider by default for both Gemini and Vertex AI and Vertex. So the model now is where the thing now changes. If it is where I mentioned from this section, where I mentioned from here, you now choose what you are making use of. You now choose if you're making use of Vertex, if you're making use of anyone you're making use of. If you're using Vertex AI, it needs to look like this. If you're making use of if you're making use of Vertex provider before, it used to look like this. Now it will look like this now. If you're making use of Gemini in the past, Gemini used to look like this. Now it will look like this, literally. So you know that it is what you're making use of. That's exactly what we are doing in here. So the previous article we have is making use of the old version, as I mentioned, but now I've updated it to make use of this new version. But where the thing now gets interesting is where we have the system instruction, which is where you're telling it what is. You're giving it a context of what it needs to play, the role it needs to play. This is where you're telling that it's a medical health diagnosis assistant, that it should only respond to health and medically related questions, make them concise and straight to the point without too much explanations. If your question is unrelated to health or medicine, politely inform the user that you can only answer health related queries. This is where the whole thing happens, which is it's being context aware of what you wanted to play, the role you wanted to play. With this, it is only going to be what you tell it to be. If you ask it, who is the president of Germany? If Germany has a president, it won't answer you. It will tell you, please ask questions relating to health, which we demoed this the last time, but for some weird reasons, we can't share our screens. So apologies for that. So you can try it out on your own. You can try it out on your own and you're good. And the beautiful thing about this is it also does image analysis, PDF analysis. You can do stuff relating to that has it using your camera, but make sure you have make sure you bring in the what they call it of course what they call that stuff. Goodness me. Permission, exactly. Make sure that any particular stuff you're making use of, if a user is uploading file, please enable the permission both on Android on your manifest and your info.p list. Make sure you enable those permissions and write those permissions, which is very anyone you're going to make use of, your camera, your file and stuff, anyone you're going to make use of, and also your recording. So it can also analyze voice recording. And as I mentioned, the whole chat interface is scaffolded, which is this we are saying. We'll go back to this. Okay, not this, but this. The chat interface we are saying, this whole chat interface is structured for us using the Flutter AI toolkit. It's giving us all of this, so we can be able to do a whole lot of stuff. We can be able to in here. It gives us camera, gallery, and file upload. In here, you can hold and record. All of this is being structured for us with the Flutter AI toolkit, just like plug and play to say that would be the right word. So you just have to customize and use. Then there comes in the response builder. So by default, this is not so necessary. It's only necessary when you want to change how the response looks like. It's giving you a very less like harness how the response like more or less like structure it the way it is. So for us to make use of Markdown, for us to bring in the button that we can click to report, we need to make use of this response. I'm not sure it's in the document there. So you just have to pay attention to it a little. For the Markdown, you just have the Markdown, which gets the response test that is coming from here. So you build context and then the response test, which is the response test that's coming in. We just pass the data here and then we style the way we want it to look like, the way the H1 will look, the way the H2 will look, and the way the strong will look like, and other things you want to do. And all. Then outside that, so you can see that we have a column here. So the column we have more or less gives us the markdown and then gives us a button that is aligned at the bottom right, which if you click on it, gives us a report dialog. The report dialog alert box. What the alert box is, I'm going to show you the report dialog. Let me create a new one. Just a sec. Okay, I even still have more stuff there. Okay, I don't have much stuff here. Just a minute. Let me show you how the report dialog is more or less what it does is okay, there won't be any need to pull it up. The report dialog, what it just does is that report dialog takes in this particular test that it has generated, passes it into let me check if I can bring it up. I think it will be best if I bring it up so we get to see it. Just a second. Yeah, this is it. This is it. It's just a sec. Okay. Amazing. I'll just delete this and paste this so we just look at it, then I'll bring it back. So we'll just be in the same screen. Okay, see what the report dialog does. So the report dialog is actually very important. So we just have like a full widget, literally, which takes in the reason. So the reason you pass it in there. When you click on it, you just the reason. The reason is like the no the reason no that's not it. The reason is the one you selected. So you have like a selected list, a drop down of reasons that is the reason you're reporting it or why you're reporting this context. It is harmful, it is this one, it is that one, and all of that. But what it takes, the argument it takes is message to report, which is the generated content. This is just an alert box. A normal alert box that has a rich text, which the rich test just has reporting and stuff. And from here, we have a drop down. The drop down, the first one is offensive, spam, order. So this is just more or less Google policy. It's not compulsory, but it's compulsory if you want to go into production, if you want to push your app to live. So it's very, very compulsory. Then when you press it, I just have a small control I'm making use of here, which is this here. When you submit it, it comes in here. What you do with it, what are you doing with it? So I just have a scaffold, and the scaffold gives you something like reports, a scaffold messenger, just like you can use Toast, you can use Alert Boss, you can use anything you want. You can use any package that looks that is fancy enough for you. What it just does is on the snack bar, it just gives you this thing. Report submitted successfully. So what it does is just this report controller is now where you handle whatever you're handling. That is, you take the reason you've selected, which the reason is coming from this offensive, spam, or other, and then the issue is related to the test itself. The test itself is actually the issue, if that could be the same. Then the controller, what the controller is actually quite. So for demonstration purposes, the report controller is literally not doing anything at this moment. So what it does is just this. I'll just share it with us before I go back and give room for questions, because there should be questions. So what it does is actually quite simple with data, because demonstration purpose, or you can do something with the data if you want to. What it does is it gets a reason type, the description, it waits for 500 milliseconds, and then that's it. It prints reported, and that's it. So this is just more like simulation. It just simulates, and then that's just it. So you can do whatsoever. You can send this to your database. You can send this to Firebase. You can send this to anybody. More or less, you're not sending it to anybody, please. You can send it to your database. You can send it to reports of issues, so that if you are maybe the Google team is reaching out to you to ask you stuff relating, or maybe you want to report something, you have reports coming from the users, the content they've reported, because this is out of your control, more or less. It's more or less like what the AI rated. So if you have a list of that or stuff like that, you can have it in your dashboard, where if you're having a section with your team or you guys want to discuss, you can bring out what people have reported and stuff. That's what I mean by what you want to make, however you want to deal with the data. So I don't know if there are questions or anything, but that's actually the end of the section.
Okay. So we haven't questions, and you share it links. Thank you. I copy them and after add to description to recorded video. And I can stop recording. Yes. What do you think? Okay.